Hi, and welcome to the Phonics Shed Ready, Set, Go training. I'm Maggie Moosfeet, and I'm the Curriculum Director here at Shed. Today, we're going to be doing an overview of our Phonics Shed program. We're going to start with a little introduction to phonics, show you some of the features of Phonics Shed, online and offline features, where to start, how to teach the lessons, assess a little bit about assessment, and at-home activities. So the teacher's manual that we have explains a lot of the pedagogy that has gone into Phonics Shed, why we made the decisions we did, defines terminology, and how to teach certain things, like dealing with the pronunciation of sounds. While using Phonics Shed or phonics in general, you'll see the following terms being used, and it's really important that everyone has a shared understanding of the terminology that's used in phonics teaching, and that it's used consistently by all adults working with the children. The Phonics Shed Teaching Manual has a lot of terminology defined for you. I'll go through some of it here now. So a phoneme is the smallest unit of sound in language. So for example, the word cat has 3 phonemes in it, 3 sounds. K, a, t. A grapheme is the letter or combination of letters that links to a single sound or a single phoneme. The link between the grapheme and the phoneme is called the phoneme-grapheme correspondence, or as we often refer to it as PGC for short. PGCs are the main bulk of knowledge that we're trying to get across to the children within the phonics curriculum. The alphabetic code is how all of our letters match up to all of our sounds in language. This is a section of our Phonics Shed alphabetic code chart that is available for teachers. Down the left-hand side, you have the sounds or the phonemes. They're always shown in slashes. On the right-hand side, with the white background, we have the graphemes or the letters for writing the sound. These are shown in single inverted commas. There are some parts that are marked as regional on the alphabetic code chart. However, you might still find that you pronounce things differently to how we have recorded it here. Don't worry, this alphabetic code chart is not fixed. It's not a set in stone document. Regional pronunciation is important to consider. We must be celebrating and discussing the differences with children because they'll probably pick up on the slightly different sounds from the different regions. It's important to teach the pronunciation of the local area that you're teaching in. There are different types of graphemes. Graphemes are the letters or combination of letters that we use to write a single sound. So here we've got a digraph, which is 2 letters that represent one sound, a trigraph, which is 3 letters that represent one sound, a tetragraph, which is 4 letters that represent one sound, and then we have our split digraph, which are 2 vowels separated by a consonant that are representing one sound. A split digraph is often referred to as a magic E, or you may have heard different terms, but we refer to it in our program as a split digraph. A consonant cluster is a group of consonants. They're also called adjacent consonants, and some people call them consonant blends, initial blends, or final blends, depending on where they are in the word. When we teach children these, we don't want to teach them as a whole unit. We want to teach children the skill of blending so that they can blend these together. This is because there's 75 different consonant clusters, and that's a lot of new units of information to add to on top of all of the phoneme grapheme correspondences students need to learn. If we teach children the skill of blending the individual sounds together, then they can blend them together without having to learn the individual consonant clusters. High-frequency words are the most common words in English. It's often abbreviated to HFW. We have all the Dolch high-frequency words, including the nouns, which are usually on a separate list, and the first 300 Fry words, plus any other words that fit along with the pattern being taught. They're embedded throughout the curriculum in alignment with the pattern being taught, so they might be presented in a different order than the associated grade level on those original lists. Over time, language changes slightly. So within this, there are some words that we call partially decodable words. In our curriculum, we call them buzzwords. Sometimes these words are referred to as heart words in other curriculums. These words have one or more graphemes in them that children will have not seen before, or they may have seen it before, but it's spelling a different sound to what they're normally used to. We have methods you can follow to help teach the students how to decode these buzzwords, and it's called the buzzwords procedure. We recommend having a 30-minute main teaching session of direct teaching of phonics every single day for grades K through 2. So now we're going to discuss some of the features of Phonics Shed. Our curriculum supports the science of reading research by providing a narrative-driven, multisensory, explicit, and systematic progression of phonics. Throughout our original series of storybooks set in the Phonics Shed garden with Joe as a guide, children are introduced to the 44-plus phonemes of the English language and over 300 of the most common Dolch and Fry high-frequency words. We have teaching stories that introduce a new character and its associated phoneme-grapheme correspondence, allowing children to develop their phonics attainment as they get to know the Phonics Shed characters and progress through the program. Joe is also available as a puppet to use for additional support if desired. Phonics Shed is set up in chapters. Chapter 1 is designed for pre-K. It's mostly phonological and phonemic awareness lessons. Chapter 2 is for kindergarten. Chapter 3 is grade 1. And Chapter 4 is grade 2. Throughout chapters 2 through 4, there are 110 phoneme-grapheme correspondences covered in the progression, each having a unique character linked to it. This includes upper and lowercase letters, double letters, digraphs, trigraphs, and more advanced phonemic patterns. Additionally, in our narrative-driven multisensory program, each character has their own supporting teaching story, decodable reader book, a song, and associated action or physical movements to help foster a love for reading, promote engagement, allow for movement, and help with solidifying the phoneme-grapheme correspondence. The 26 letters of the alphabet have upper and lowercase characters, each with an easy-to-follow letter formation rhyme to support the children's writing. The same characters are referenced throughout the curriculum and are known as special friends to the digraph and trigraph characters. They appear on most of the digraph and trigraph flashcards and often in their stories to support consistent letter formation and reinforce that they sometimes work together to help represent certain sounds. All lesson plans and resources are available online as digital copies, so you can download and print the resources as you need. We have a lesson viewer that houses many resources that are referenced in each lesson. As mentioned before, we have teaching ebooks and decodable ebooks. The teaching books are intended to be read aloud by the teacher to introduce the new character and the new phoneme-grapheme correspondence. Children are not expected to read the teaching books themselves, but they may explore and refer back to them to remind them of the story. You can display the teaching ebook on the screen so children can read along the same book with you and help support blending and segmenting practice with the example words that are in the book. We also have songs for each phoneme-grapheme correspondence so that the children can remember them easily. You can also find our digital letter formation animations for each capital letter and lowercase letter on the lesson viewer. These can help show the children how they can form these letters. The pronunciation guidance video is located here as well. So let's take a look at the dashboard features, our online features. When you click on curriculum, you can choose which chapter you would like to look at the resources. There's some general resources at the top, word list, high frequency word PowerPoints, some posters you can download. We have sound mats. We have this week we are learning cards that you can send home to parents so they know which words you're working on. This is the planning and resources that you would download. So you select which set of words or letters you want to be reviewing and learning. And this is the lesson viewer. So it's going to tell you what the phoneme is. It's going to have the teaching story. And so you can go through the book. This is something that the teacher would read to the students to introduce them to the character. It includes many words that have the target phoneme grapheme correspondence in it. There are questions at the end of the book. And there are example words that you can use to practice blending and segmenting. This is Nancy the Princess. For C, that represents the sound. This is the letter formation, so it's showing you how to do it. It has a little rhyme at the bottom for students to remember. And then we have a song. They're usually familiar nursery rhyme tunes.
C acts like S before E.
And then we have our pronunciation guide video as well, just for the teacher so they are able to know how to pronounce it. It will tell you what the action is.
This is the C grapheme, pronounced S. The character is Nancy the Princess. The letter is C. The sound is S. The action for this sound is S.
This teaches children a song and action, so they have that movement and multisensory features. We also have our phonological phonemic awareness lessons that are available. Those are all split up individually for each individual grapheme phoneme correspondence. We have our guidance and training page, which shows you all kinds of helpful documents. Our system page will allow you to use our tools. So this is our letter tile tool where you can build words. There's all kinds of features on here. You can draw on it. You can put those colored squares up, cover letters. You can you can work on this together on a teacher blackboard, or students can pull it up on their computers and have their own little tool in front of them.
As in the past tense of the verb.
If the word is in our dictionary, it will define it for you. It says sound buttons. You can draw on it. You can save your progress. So it's a really, really cool little tool that you can use to help support your teaching. Another tool that we have is our flashcard tool. You can use that to review graphemes or our high frequency words. So you select which cards you'd like to review. It pulls it up, flips them over. So you have your digital flashcard. It tells you the character. It has that letter formation rhyme at the bottom of it as well. In the later chapters, it has common rules or patterns for that grapheme. We have a phonics assessment. So this assessment, you can assess graphemes individually, or you can assess blending in words. You can choose our word list. You can create your own word list and upload those and use those if you prefer. And this is a teacher-led assessment that you do one student at a time. In our program, we do allow many, many weeks for review and assessment. So I really like this part where you can mark individual graphemes within the word that they're getting right or wrong, whether they have it, they almost have it, they don't have it. And that progress is all recorded on your online dashboard, and it's a really great way to look at the data very quickly. So the progress can be saved here as well. So you can stop in the middle of an assessment and save it and come back to it if you need to. Here's one of our data tabs. This is just an overview of the whole class. You can launch the assessment here. You can print the assessment data here. You can choose which chapters you're working on. If you click on an individual student and an individual grapheme, you can see what progress they've made on it, why, when. You can leave a comment. You can override it. So there's a lot you can do with the data here. So this is another little snapshot of our digital flashcards. We do have physical flashcards available. They're just available as a separate purchase. So if you're interested in those, you would contact support and you can get physical flashcards. We have our books available as physical books as well. That's just a separate purchase. We've got online games, and the decodable books are also available as ebooks, as I mentioned. You can set both of these as assignments for your students. So you can set them assignments to play games with specific graphemes, phoneme correspondences. You can assign them ebooks to read on their own, the decodable books. We've got assessment tools and tracking. You can assess graphemes, high frequency words, word lists, do a phonics screener. You can easily see how children are doing with phoneme grapheme correspondences and their high frequency words. We also have an alternate paper-based assessment if you would prefer. This can be located in the appendix in the teacher manual. And like we discussed, we have our letter tile tool. It's really good for modeling phoneme grapheme correspondences in words, good for building words and sentences. It has a feature where you can put the sound buttons on the word. And like I said, if it's an approved EdShed word in our dictionary, the definition will pop up and the word can be read aloud. You have the option to share yours or your students' work. Our letter tile tool, digital flashcards, and phonics assessment tool are all found under that system tab on Phonics Shed. Finally, we've got some additional resources like handwriting practice and our character key, which are cards that state all the information about that character on it. So it tells you the grapheme, the phoneme, the speech sound, the type of sound, the action, the alliteration phrase or an example sentence, and the letter formation phrase. These letter formation phrases or rhymes are only for the chapter 2 individual letters. Another resource is our high frequency word PowerPoints that include sound buttons if you would like to emphasize those sound buttons. The partially decodable words will have the non-decodable part of the word in bold and identified at the bottom of the slide. It'll tell you why it is, the reason it is partially undecodable at this current stage. The buzzwords procedure is also included at the beginning of each PowerPoint. So this buzzwords procedure kind of gives you a snapshot on how to teach these words and teach these slightly undecodable parts. We also have our phonemic and phonological awareness lessons, our PPA lessons, and we have intervention planning as well. You can find more in-depth information about these in the teacher manual, but both these type of lessons will give you each individual grapheme phoneme combination has its own lesson. So if you're not following our progression and you're doing a different progression, or you just need to pick and choose certain graphemes to work on with students, you can do that, and they all have their own individual lesson. We have downloadable display resources as well. This includes our blending and segmenting posters, best fit patterns, practice word cards with sound buttons, and active listening posters as well. We have sound mats available to download. Some of them have all the characters on it. Some have the characters removed. And we also have options with and without the high frequency words that are included within that chapter. We have some letters for parents and caretakers to tell them about Phonics Shed. We have the This Week We Are Learning cards, which is what they will show. They'll show the phoneme grapheme correspondences that you've been working on that week. So it's something you can send home to parents so they know how to assist their children with that. We have recorded professional development and additional guidance documents available on your dashboard in the EdShed Hub. So, where do we start with your Phonics Shed curriculum? Well, it's best to have a look over the overall progression of the chapters through the grade levels and the scope and sequence for each individual chapter. Chapter 1 is all about pre-reading, speaking, and listening skills. It also includes some motor skills and phonological and phonemic awareness, which is identifying, using, and manipulating sounds in our language. Chapter 2 is about introducing those phoneme grapheme correspondences to the children, and we include some simple digraphs. We also start blending and segmenting with letters. We include consonant blends within this. It also teaches children alphabet order, what vowels and consonants are, and the letter names as well. Chapter 3 has more digraphs and trigraphs, and there's one grapheme for each phoneme apart from the Z sound. It's about spelling longer words and reading more complex text as well. Chapter 4 is centered around alternate graphemes for known phonemes and reversely, alternate phonemes for known graphemes. In kindergarten, we do a Chapter 1 introduction to Phonics Shed and cover additional key skills from Chapter 1. Then we begin Chapter 2 in the 5th week, where we teach the first 4 sounds and the corresponding high-frequency words and capital letters for those. So this is an example of our kindergarten scope and sequence. Since we are covering 4 letters or graphemes per week, the following week is always dedicated to that same set of graphemes for further consolidation and review. There are several ways we suggest that the teaching content and activities in the first and second week can be organized, which I will come back to in a minute. Every 2 to 4 weeks, there'll be a week dedicated to review and a chance for you to assess the children. This week also provides opportunities for further practice and intervention lessons if needed. Grade 1 begins with an introduction to Phonics Shed and a 3-week review of all the characters or PGCs, phoneme grapheme correspondences, alphabet order, and vowels and consonants learned in Chapter 2. In week 3, the vowels and consonants lessons introduces a new concept of open and closed syllables. In some of the main teaching weeks, an additional phonics concept is introduced to further help with decoding. These concepts are reviewed and practiced further in later lessons. There's always a review and assess week embedded every 2 to 4 weeks. Like in kindergarten, there's several ways we suggest that the teaching content and activities in the first and second week can be organized, which I will discuss next. So this is our suggested 2-week pacing guide, which is also available in the teacher manual in the appendix. We have a whole group focus option and we have a small group focus option. If you have 45 minutes to dedicate to phonics, then we suggest incorporating our phonological awareness lessons as well. So this is our small group focus. So whole group will be the whole class most of the time. This is a small group focus is more if you want to break into small groups and do that differentiation, intervention, all those pieces if you can fit that in. And we also have a guide, just if you only have 30 minutes to teach your phonics, we have a different guide that you can use to follow for that. All of those guides are available as well as the scope and sequences in the teacher manual. This is our grade 2 scope and sequence. People do ask about how to get the children used to characters from previous grades or chapters since they are reoccurring if they haven't used Phonics Shed before. You can use the previous grades or chapters teaching books as end-of-the-day stories to children to introduce some of the previous characters. Alternatively, you can assign the previous decodable books as ebooks as long as children have covered those phoneme grapheme correspondences within them. You will have wanted to give a phonics screener to see where the children are at. Don't worry too much about the children remembering all the characters if they are already secure with those phoneme grapheme correspondences that they represent. The aim of phonics is to help children acquire these phoneme grapheme correspondences and phonemic knowledge. The characters, songs, actions, and letter formation rhymes are all to support this. If the children have succeeded without that, there's no need to really go back and fill in those gaps unnecessarily. So let's talk about teaching the lessons. It's really important to make sure that your lesson is well prepared so it runs smoothly and you can keep the pace up, but also to avoid any misconceptions that might occur. You should read the daily planning beforehand, gather the resources, and check the guidance materials. We have a guidance video for every single phoneme, grapheme correspondence, which models the pronunciation of the sound, the letter name, the character, and the actions that go with it. So we have a recap section at the beginning of every lesson, so it gives children a chance to kind of practice those sounds they've previously done. You can use, and usually it includes our flashcards. So you can use the digital version of the flashcards and display and practice those phoneme grapheme correspondences and those high frequency words. So here's an example of the little flashcard tool. You can pick out which letters you're working on, and then you have it over here to shuffle through and present to the children. The lessons will ask you to review the high frequency words. Once you recap the ones they've just learned, you can mix them in with the old ones as well. You can get them to go through them and see if they can spot any new ones that they've learned. So in chapter 2, we have the whole group structure of tap it, map it, graph it. It's a word mapping activity, letter formation, and the story. Some people like to put the story first, which is absolutely fine, but you just want to make sure the whole school and teachers have agreed on the structure that you would like to present those stories. Our plans are made to be flexible if you need them, so if you need to restructure them a little bit, you can. There's also a separate high frequency word activity that can be used in whole group or small groups, depending on students' prior knowledge or readiness levels. You can use the 2-week pacing guide for grades K through 1 to determine how to best fit this activity into your phonics sessions. Chapter 3 allows the same structure as 2, except the letter formation is usually replaced with a separate skill related to phonics and decoding. Chapter 4 has a similar structure, except the song has been moved to whole group, and there will either be a high frequency word or skill activity as well. So here's one of the teaching stories. This is a perfect opportunity to model blending skills. So the teacher models blending. Teacher says the individual sounds, and the class blends it together. Children sound out and blend a word. So when you're reading the story, some of the words will be decodable for the children, and some won't be. If I was reading this sentence, I might say they, and get the children to blend it together for me. Here, I'm encouraging them to practice with me. Keep in mind which phoneme grapheme correspondences you've covered when you're modeling, though. You may want to be really careful that you do it with the graphemes that they've covered. Within the second half of the chapter 4 stories, you'll have a phoneme comparison story and a grapheme comparison story. Because of this, we haven't actually got many songs in chapter 4 because you've got the 2 stories instead. The use of songs is slowly phased out as the chapter progresses. The nursery rhyme nature of the songs tends to seem a little bit more childish to students at this stage, and it doesn't really hold the same engaging effect as the previous chapters. Instead, we've leaned more towards the narrative nature of the program and added additional story content. As the chapter progresses, the teaching books are longer and more focus is on comparing the same phoneme and graphemes for the target character. With the independent activity section, there's a range of reading and writing tasks. These do have a basic level of differentiation within them, and there's 3 levels: simplify, expect, and extend. However, differentiation is about knowing your children's skill level, not labeling them. It's important to diagnose their prior attainment accurately and applying this differentiation flexibly. So there are written activities for the students to work on that are differentiated that you can choose from. So here's an example. This is a chapter 2 example. And it shows the different levels of differentiation there. Sometimes the independent activities are matching the words to the correct picture, so children need to decode the word accurately to be able to do that. These are some examples from chapter 3. Sometimes we have trash or box. Trash is where we're putting the words that don't have the focus grapheme in it, or in the box if it does. These ones were matching the words to the correct character, so children are identifying those phoneme grapheme correspondences within them. In chapter 4, there's some more examples. We've got filling in the missing grapheme and adding sound buttons, writing sentences, selecting the correct grapheme for the picture, and writing out the word and sound boxes, and also sorting graphemes to the correct sound. So let's talk a little bit about assessment. In this section, we'll look at what assessment we can do with Phonics Shed. The assessment weeks are built into the scope and sequence, so don't worry, you don't have to make extra time in your schedule for it. When it's an assessment week, we'd expect you to use your phonics lesson time to do the assessments. I would also recommend going through the phoneme grapheme correspondence flashcards to keep those fresh in children's mind every single day in an assessment week. So how can you assess the phoneme grapheme correspondences? You can do it with physical flashcards, or you can use our online assessment tool, which will automatically track it for you. This is a teacher-led assessment, as I mentioned before. Here it shows them the grapheme, and you select whether they say the correct or incorrect phoneme. You can use the nearly if you would like. Make sure you check in with your school that you're all using the assessment in the same form. You want to give the children a similar amount of time to respond to each phoneme grapheme correspondence so that some children aren't having to think about it for 10 seconds. This should be a fairly rapid recall. For blending and segmenting, if they're reading or spelling high-frequency words during practice, it's evidence that the children are blending and segmenting. For our summative assessment, we have our online assessment tool, which can also assess their ability to read words. It will track the individual graphemes in each word. You can mark specific letters they struggle with to help get a clearer picture of what phoneme grapheme correspondences they're still struggling with. You can select to use words we have pre-selected for each grapheme, high-frequency words, or you can upload your own lists. So if you notice students are struggling with a specific grapheme here, this is when you can go in and assign them a game that covers that specific grapheme, and they can play that and practice it, and you can monitor their progress. So we've also got the high-frequency word tools on there as well, so you can give them those assessments, and there's a really great little data form right there for you to follow as well. What can we do to improve fluency? This might be word reading fluency, or it might be text reading fluency. Our assessing fluency guidance is very helpful for this. It explains the difference between word reading fluency and text reading fluency, and it gives you some hints and ideas for what to do when you've got these problems. It also provides 3 types of paper assessments for fluency. Our decodable reading series is really helpful to aid in fluency as well. Children can be asked to reread books to increase that fluency. Our fluency assessment flowchart, which is in the Assessing Fluency document, can give you some more ideas. So what can we do at home for the students? Well, we've got decodable books, which you can assign them as e-readers, and they can read those at home with their parents. You might want to purchase physical books to send home as well, but the e-books are just as easy to assign, and it'll give children a chance to exposure to different books. So rereading is also really important because it helps build that decoding skill. It means that the children should be focusing on accuracy. Children might start the books to decodable books, blending a lot of words and sounding them out. However, once they've reread the text, they will gradually start to increase the number of words that they can read at a glance instead. You can emphasize to the children why they are being asked to reread the books. It's to help build that amount of words that they can read quickly at a glance. Another thing that children can assess from home is our online games. You can set these as assignments, or if the children haven't got any assignments set for them, they can still access these games and play them at home or in school. There are some for spelling, some for identifying sounds, and blending and segmenting as well. You can set an assignment from the EdShed dashboard, or you can get them from the home page. In the online teacher dashboard, you'll see a box that says assessments. You press create. That will allow you to create the assignment. For more information to do this, you can see our digital guide or digital videos online. Moving forward. So if you want to make sure that you're receiving updates on new features and things like that, when you click on your details, you can check that you get the updates on, make sure that button is on so you can see those new features. We have a lot of social media pages, and our YouTube page is particularly helpful. It has a bunch of help videos to help you get started. It explains how to create assignments and add students and share things with teachers. A lot of the videos are geared towards Spelling Shed, but the platform essentially is the same. You would make and create assignments and all those things the same exact way. So if you need any help, you can always click on the Help tab and look at the guides that are there. There are some available for all the different sheds that we have. You can also email support at any time if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching this introductory video, and I hope it's been helpful.